Success is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. These are the words of Winston Churchill. Failure is part of our success. But why do we need to focus, analyze, and dwell on our failures in order to soar to success? In order to understand that, watch Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame Enshrinement speech, in which he thanks everyone who inspired him, but in which he spends a lot of time on details, even grudges that he dwells on in front of people that inspired him and that pushed him and added wood to his fire, who are right there in his audience. Yet it is a testament to his discipline and his particular approach to failures, to understanding the need to analyze them in detail, that I want to focus on in this video with you guys. See, many times you're told, let it go, just let it go, forget about it, just move on. Yes, it's important to move on, but there's a critical step that we're not told very often, and that is the analysis. That analysis that takes place during failure. What happens in the past is something that you can't control, but you can still control the future. One of the best ways to control the future is to understand what you need to do in order to prevent making the same mistake again. And that leads me to the 3F cycle at All Out Coach, which was inspired largely by Michael Jordan's video. The 3F cycle is simply fail, focus, and forgive. And it all happens in a cycle. Fail at something new. Analyze it. Focus on why it is that you failed. Why it is that somebody may have pushed you to the edge. Or why did you form that grudge against someone? What did you do in order to create that situation? And then forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive the other person. But do not forget. Because it's important not to forget in order to prevent making the same mistake, making the same error next time. And then keep failing at something new. That's, in essence, the 3F principle that I want you to remember. In order to now share with you why I came up with this based on the speech from Michael Jordan, I'm going to draw on 3 stories that he told. The first one is about Dean Smith. See, Dean Smith was his college coach in North Carolina. And when he came in first, he led to a championship at UNC. And when the Sports Illustrated approached Dean Smith, his coach, for an interview, he mentioned the 4 other starters, but he didn't mention Michael Jordan. And at the Hall of Fame speech, when it's largely a consensus from all over the world, he's recognized as the best NBA player, he told Dean that, Dean, it probably was a freshman effect, phenomenon, that you didn't really mention me. But, and I understand, but from a basketball sense, you knew that I probably deserved to be on that Sports Illustrated issue, right? You know, Dean Smith also smiled because the camera focused on him in the audience. But there was one incident where Michael Jordan used that to fuel him, to prove not only to himself, because he was self-assured of his talent, of his skills, but he wanted to prove to Dean Smith and to others that he wanted to have the ball, and he wanted to make a difference in basketball at UNC and in the future. The second incident that he talked about is with Doug Collins. Doug Collins was his coach to the Chicago Bulls. Collins had also been in the audience, and Michael Jordan told the story of how Doug approached him and told him, look, Michael, we appreciate the investment that we've made in you as an organization, but we want to ask you to not play in the summer because our contract explicitly says that you are prohibited from playing in the summer. And what Michael Jordan did that brought him closer to Doug, as he says, is he told Doug, well, Doug, you must have not really looked at that contract closely enough. See, because I have my own clause as well that you didn't read in that contract. I have the love of the game clause of the contract, because of which I can play whenever I want, wherever I want, Doug. And that brought the two much closer as a coach and a player. You understand and you can probably appreciate Michael sharing that moment of his own self-evaluation and appreciation of what he had done in front of this large global audience and with Doug sitting right there, who had to smile and who remembered that. But it was almost as if to tell him, look, I wanted to prove it to you, and I think I've proven it to you by now, that I probably could play wherever I wanted to. And, the contract that we had was also verbal and was personal as well. Then the third example that I want to share with you from his speech is to Jerry Krause. So Jerry Krause came into the Chicago Bulls organization, and there was some tension on the team, in leadership, in the management, between him, between the coach, between Jerry Reinsdorf. And Michael Jordan tells this story about Jerry, who told Michael, see, the organization wins championships. It's the organization that wins championships. To which Michael had replied at the time, it's not the organization that played through the flu against the Utah Jazz in the finals to win. It's not the organization that it goes out there on the court to win championships. And even though I didn't invite Jerry, he's here in the crowd. I didn't invite him, but he's here. And so he made it a point to show that he had a character, he had discipline, Michael Jordan. And he wasn't afraid to share that negative moment, not to necessarily suggest that he dwelled on it still, but he didn't forget about it. And it was a turning point in his career where he felt that he had accumulated enough adversity and he had learned from his adversity and from his self-assuredness and confidence that he wanted to share it as a leadership moment for other players, for other young people who may look up to him. And he was in the position to share that, to help other people, Jerry Reinsdorf, Doug, and Dean, to take a different perspective on coaching, on leadership, to understand how it is important to recognize people's abilities and extend their boundaries so that they maximize their potential and they extend their roles. Growing up, my favorite basketball player was Magic Johnson. It wasn't Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, to me, was somebody who was very famous, who had his own shoe, who was a businessman, who personified effort, character, hard work. While Magic Johnson, to me, was somebody who symbolized effortlessness. He didn't even jump when he shot the ball. I just was fascinated by his no-look passes, by his just team spirit. He was a team player to me. But the discipline from Michael Jordan is one that is unparalleled. His lesson on how he regards failure is one that we can all learn from. How do I integrate that into my career or my personal life? I had a great coach once. He was very polished. He was very well spoken. And he had a favorite on the team. He had a favorite whom he knew longer than me. They knew each other. They had played before. And however, this player that he had also happened to be a bully. But I wouldn't let him have that satisfaction of being a bully against me. So every time he would bully me or others in front of the group, I'd speak back. He knew that I would be provoked. And he wanted me to be provoked. But I just would not let him have that satisfaction of being a bully against me. I spoke to him one-on-one as well. And one-on-one, he had never really bullied me. But he used the public forum in order to appear as a bully or somebody who undermined other more junior people or players on the team, if you will. And so time went by, and there was an important opportunity where I decided to go against this favorite of our coach for a particular opportunity. And I wanted to get some support from my coach, because without his support, without other people's support, I knew that I probably would not get it. But this coach did not really give me that chance. He didn't empower me. In fact, I remember being stuck on a flight for 6 hours, and I finally was able to speak my mind with him. I told him everything. I told him how I saw things, how he needed to see things. And I remember getting lunch as our plane was delayed for hours. As we were picking up lunch, I came up to him and I told him, listen, you know that I'm the best player on your team who deserves this opportunity, right? And he said yes. He said yes, but he didn't support me. Throughout the whole flight, even after the delay, he never gave me the go-ahead or the hope, because he had a pact with his favorite, with the bully. But to me, I proved to myself in that moment that he saw my contribution and he saw my character the way I wanted to be seen. And that's why that self-assuredness is incredibly important for you to carry. But it takes a lot of work. And yes, you have to prove to yourself your abilities. You cannot compete against others. Compete against yourself over time. But regardless of what box other people put you in, regardless of what bullies you encounter, it's critical for you to follow this 3F cycle. Fail at something new. Focus on why you failed, why you held that grudge. But that grudge should be kept in the past. Let that grudge stay in the past. And then forgive yourself. Forgive that person. Forgive it, but don't forget, so that you don't make the same mistake in the future. So that you don't have to hold the same grudge against that bully. Don't be provoked so easily. Handle it a different way. And that's why when you can do that, that grudge and that fist turns into a handshake in the future. And that's my diagram for you. Going from a fist to a handshake. Because that's what we strive for when we collaborate with other people. Always believing in ourselves and our abilities.